Picture this. You're deep in the Amazon rainforest, 3 days from the nearest civilization when your metal detector starts going absolutely crazy. The readings are off the charts, higher than anything you've ever seen. Your hands are shaking as you start digging, and within minutes, you pull out a solid gold artifact covered in symbols that don't match any known civilization. But here's the terrifying part. This exact scenario happened to Dr. Marcus Chen just 18 months ago, and what he discovered next has the entire archaeological community in complete chaos. Because according to his findings, we've been looking for El Dorado in all the wrong places. And the truth about this legendary city is far more disturbing than anyone ever imagined. What I'm about to share with you will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about South American history. The evidence is so compelling, so undeniable, that 3 different governments have tried to suppress this information. But the truth always finds a way, and today you're going to hear it all. It started in March 2023 when Dr. Marcus Chen, a respected archaeologist from Stanford University, received an unusual call from his colleague Dr. Isabella Santos at the University of Sao Paulo. She had been working with the Kayapo tribe in the Mato Grosso region, documenting their oral histories when the tribal elder, a man named Rayani, approached her with something extraordinary. Dr. Santos, Rayani had said through a translator, "My grandfather's grandfather told stories of the golden people who lived beyond the singing waters. He said they would return when the forest began to die. And that time is now." Now, you have to understand Dr. Santos had been studying indigenous cultures for over 20 years. She'd heard countless legends and folklore, but something about Rayoni's demeanor was different. He wasn't sharing a story, he was delivering a warning. Rayani led Dr. Santos to a sacred cave system that had been hidden from outsiders for generations. Inside, carved into the walls, were detailed maps showing river systems, mountain ranges, and most incredibly, a city marked with golden symbols that perfectly matched historical descriptions of El Dorado. But these weren't Spanish colonial maps. Carbon dating later revealed these carvings to be over 800 years old. Dr. Chen arrived in Brazil 2 weeks later, and what the team discovered in that cave changed everything. The maps didn't just show El Dorado's location, they showed multiple locations. 7 different cities, all connected by underground waterways, forming what appeared to be an entire golden civilization that spanned thousands of square miles across the Amazon basin. But here's where things get really disturbing. According to the cave paintings, this wasn't just a wealthy civilization, it was an advanced one. The artwork depicted technologies that shouldn't have existed in pre-Columbian America. Flying vessels, complex machinery, and most shocking of all, what appeared to be some kind of energy source represented by a golden disc surrounded by lightning bolts. The expedition team, now expanded to include geologist Dr. Rebecca Martinez and indigenous guide Carlos Tuxay, began following the ancient maps deeper into uncharted regions of the Amazon. "We were following this tributary that wasn't on any modern map," Dr. Chen later told me in an exclusive interview. "The water had this strange golden tint to it, and our equipment started malfunctioning. Compasses spinning wildly, GPS devices showing impossible coordinates." But Carlos just smiled and said, "We're getting close to the sleeping city." On the 4th day, they found it. Not the ruins of El Dorado, but El Dorado itself, completely intact and apparently abandoned just decades ago, not centuries. The city was built on a series of artificial islands connected by golden bridges that still gleamed in the sunlight. Massive pyramids rose from the center, their surfaces covered in solar panels made from some unknown reflective material. Gardens that should have been overgrown with jungle vegetation were somehow still maintained, with exotic plants arranged in perfect geometric patterns. But the most unsettling discovery was that the city wasn't empty. Dr. Martinez was the first to notice them. Figures moving in the shadows between buildings. At first, they assumed it was local wildlife, but as they got closer, they realized these were people. Descendants of the original inhabitants, still living in El Dorado, still maintaining their ancestors' advanced civilization. "They knew we were coming," Dr. Santos whispered into her recording device. Somehow, they knew. There was a group of maybe 30 people waiting for us at the main entrance. They were wearing modern clothes mixed with traditional golden ornaments, and they spoke perfect Portuguese. The leader, a woman named Amara, who appeared to be in her 50s, approached the team with an expression that mixed sadness with resignation. "You're the archaeologists," she said. It wasn't a question. "My people have been preparing for this day for generations." The prophecy said outsiders would find us when the Great Destruction began. What Amara revealed next defied everything we know about human history. Her people weren't just descendants of some ancient civilization. They were the guardians of knowledge that could revolutionize our understanding of technology, medicine, and even physics itself. The Golden City wasn't just wealthy, it was powered by something they called Earth energy, a renewable power source that the ancients had discovered centuries before modern science even theorized about it. The flying vessels depicted in the cave paintings, they still existed, hidden in underground hangars, maintained by a technology that required no fossil fuels. But here's the shocking part. They'd been in contact with the outside world all along. Not through governments or universities, but through carefully selected individuals who could help protect their secrets. Scientists, environmentalists, even some politicians who'd been quietly working to preserve the Amazon for reasons far more important than climate change. The forest isn't just the lungs of the earth, Amara explained as she led them through the city. It's the nervous system, the trees, the rivers, the very soil. It's all connected to the energy network that powers our civilization. When you destroy the forest, you're not just killing trees. You're dismantling the most sophisticated power grid ever created. Dr. Chen's team spent 6 days in El Dorado, documenting everything they could. They recorded hours of video footage, took thousands of photographs, and collected samples of materials that shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of metallurgy and engineering. But on the 7th day, something happened that changed everything. They were awakened before dawn by sounds that Dr. Martinez later described as like the earth itself was screaming. The golden buildings were vibrating, the artificial lakes were churning, and the air was filled with an electromagnetic charge that made their hair stand on end. Amara burst into their quarters with tears streaming down her face. "They found us," she said. "The destroyers are coming. You have to leave now, and you can never reveal the exact location of our city." Through the forest, they could hear the unmistakable sound of helicopters approaching. Military helicopters, flying in formation, heading directly for the hidden city. "How do they know we're here?" Dr. Chen asked. Amara's response sent chills down their spines. "Because someone's been tracking you since you entered the forest. Someone who doesn't want this knowledge to reach the world." The team was evacuated through underwater tunnels that connected to a river system miles away from the city. As they escaped, they could see aircraft circling overhead, and Dr. Santos swears she saw armed soldiers rappelling down into the jungle canopy. When they finally made it back to civilization 5 days later, their equipment had been mysteriously wiped clean. Cameras, recording devices, even their written notes, everything was corrupted or missing. All they had left were their memories, and a single golden artifact that Dr. Chen had hidden in his boot. But here's where the story gets even more disturbing. When they tried to report their findings to their respective universities, they were told that no record existed of their expedition. Their funding had been revoked, their research permits canceled, and their official documentation had somehow disappeared from all government databases. Dr. Santos was placed on administrative leave. Dr. Martinez found her laboratory access suspended, and Dr. Chen received a visit from men in black suits who politely but firmly suggested he focus his research on less sensitive archaeological sites. The only proof they had left was that single golden artifact, and when Dr. Chen finally had it analyzed by an independent laboratory, the results were impossible to explain. The metal was 99.9% pure gold, but it contained trace elements that don't exist naturally on Earth. The craftsmanship showed tool marks from instruments more precise than anything in our current technology. But the most shocking discovery came when they subjected the artifact to X-ray analysis. Hidden inside the solid gold structure was a microcircuit so advanced that MIT's computer science department called it technology from at least 50 years in the future. Now, 18 months later, strange things continue to happen. Satellite images of the region where they found El Dorado show nothing but dense jungle canopy. Government officials deny that any archaeological expedition was ever authorized for that area. And Carlos Tuxa, their indigenous guide, has completely disappeared. But Dr. Chen isn't giving up. He's been secretly compiling evidence, reaching out to other researchers who've had similar experiences, and slowly building a case that suggests El Dorado isn't just one lost city. It's part of a network of advanced civilizations that have been hiding in plain sight for centuries. The implications are staggering. If Amara was telling the truth, then indigenous peoples of the Amazon have been protecting technology that could solve our energy crisis, cure diseases we've been fighting for decades, and possibly even reverse environmental damage we thought was irreversible. But there are forces that don't want this knowledge revealed. Powerful interests that profit from our current dependency on fossil fuels, pharmaceutical companies that make billions from treatments rather than cures, and governments that maintain control through scarcity rather than abundance. The question isn't whether El Dorado exists. The question is whether we're ready for the truth about what it represents. Because if Dr. Chen's evidence is real, then everything we've been told about human history, about technology, about the very nature of civilization itself, has been a lie. And the most terrifying part, this might just be the beginning. Because according to the ancient prophecies that Raoni shared, El Dorado's emergence is a sign that something far more significant is about to happen. Something that will force humanity to choose between the path of destruction we're currently on and a future more incredible than we ever dared to imagine. The golden artifact sits in Dr. Chen's private collection today, a 3-inch piece of impossible technology that proves we're not alone in our quest for advancement. But every time he looks at it, he remembers Amara's final words as they fled through those underground tunnels. This is just the first key. There are 6 more cities waiting to reveal themselves, but only when humanity proves it's ready to protect rather than exploit what it discovers. So the next time you hear about deforestation in the Amazon, remember this story. Because somewhere beneath that green canopy, advanced civilizations are watching, waiting, and deciding whether we deserve the knowledge that could save our planet, or whether we'll destroy ourselves before we ever get the chance to learn from those who mastered the art of living in harmony with the earth. The truth about El Dorado isn't just about gold. It's about the future of human civilization itself. And that truth is far more valuable and far more dangerous than any treasure the Spanish conquistadors ever imagined.